Epic Universe is getting yet another indoor dark ride attraction. Hello everybody, welcome. New permits reveal a massive indoor attraction is coming to Dark Universe, as Universal seeks to further increase their capacity at Epic Universe and offer more indoor options. A couple of weeks ago, we reported out on a possible new dark ride attraction that was going to be coming to Epic Universe in the Dark Universe area specifically. Permits that were originally filed on April 28th of 2026. And in the details of that permit, it revealed some pretty interesting information that allowed us to make some assumptions and some speculation about what we were going to be getting and where it was going to be at. The permit specifically states the address is 1001 Epic Boulevard. The permit also said the location is relative to Area 680. In addition, the permit states that the building will be labeled 1570 on the utility plan, and this is important. The 1500s are well known to be the Dark Universe plot of land, the plot of area there. 1560 is labeled for Curse of the Werewolf, so we know that the general proximity of this building was going to be very near Curse of the Werewolf and Monsters Unchained: The Frankenstein Experiment, which left us with two primary locations, either entering into this area or this building near that sort of side gate, side entrance area right next to Curse of the Werewolf, or some sort of entry point back there behind Monsters Unchained. But now we have a brand new permit that's been filed that has given us some additional information that wasn't on the previous permit. First of all, this permit has the company Stantec listed as the contractor that is responsible for the permit. The original permit that was filed back in April 28th, that did not have Stantec originally listed on that permit when we reported out on it at the time. However, since then, that permit has now been updated to have Stantec on that permit. So that tells us that this permit is very likely related to that previous permit and that location. Stantec has a 30-year history in the theme park industry. They've been featured at IAAPA, they've had a presence there. They work very heavily in the master planning stages with a lot of big vendors, a lot of big theme park operators like Disney and Universal. They are not typically responsible for the attraction itself, usually more involved in the building and the master planning for a particular area. One of the projects that they were responsible for some of the master planning for was the Disney Springs reimagining here in Orlando, which was a 900,000 square foot project. The massive reimagining that happened in the central areas of Epcot, they had a big hand in a lot of the work that was done there. So they have a lot of experience in this world. The second big thing on this permit that is new is the size of the attraction, the size of the building that is going to be going in this space. And that was listed as 71,500 square foot building. That is a significant sized building. And this tells us a few different things. With such a massive building or structure that's going to be created, this tells us immediately that this is in fact going to be some sort of dark indoor attraction or show of some kind. This isn't exterior theming, this isn't a park that's going to be developed, splash pads, or even an outdoor roller coaster. This is going to be an indoor attraction. And if we think about size-wise, 71,000 square foot versus a 900,000 square foot area of space that they designed for Disney Springs, they definitely have the chops to pull off something really cool here from a master planning perspective. 900,000 is a lot bigger than 70,000. But the real question is, how big is 71,500 square feet? What can we do in that space? Let's take a look right next door. If you look at something like Monsters Unchained, that entire building structure is about 115,000 square feet. Yes, that is bigger than 71,000 square feet, but that is also including all of the queue, pre-show, everything that is involved in Monsters Unchained, not just the ride itself. Battle with the Ministry over across the other side of the park, that's 150,000 square feet. And then the additional Harry Potter attraction, that other permit that we talked about for the new Harry Potter attraction going in there, that was also a 150,000 square foot structure. So size-wise, this new attraction is going to be quite a bit smaller overall than those other larger sort of like top e-ticket attractions. However, if you go over to Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, you look at something like a Pirates of the Caribbean, for example, that's about 100,000 square feet. And that does also include the massive queue that attraction has, some of the shops, all the things that are attached to it, about 100,000 square feet. The version in Disneyland out in California is actually quite a bit smaller. Even though the attraction is longer in Disneyland, the footprint of it is a bit smaller. So depending on how this is done with this 71,000 foot building that they're going to be creating, this could be quite a bit smaller than Pirates of the Caribbean or Monsters Unchained, or it could be roughly about the same size based on how big the queue area needs to be, if there are pre-show elements, and how the ride is designed itself. So looking at the size of this attraction and the potential location for it, if you look at the area directly behind Monsters Unchained and it sort of stretches over to where there's a building structure there, that area coincidentally is right around 75,000 square feet. So this new attraction definitely could fit in that space perfectly, while also simultaneously still leaving a large plot of land there between Dark Universe and Super Nintendo World for additional expansions for Dark Universe and plenty of expansions for Super Nintendo World. So right now I'm thinking it is going to be in this plot of land directly behind Monsters Unchained, that space is where this is going to be planned for. The entrance for it is likely going to be somewhere between Monsters Unchained and the Burning Blade Tavern. However, it could also still be that side gate there right next to Curse of the Werewolf that just kind of goes around, and they could potentially use some of that space for queuing that wouldn't take up that 71,500 square foot footprint, leaving more room for the attraction, not needing such a large building or structure if the queuing is outdoors, or at least a portion of it is outdoors. Now, as far as what this attraction is going to be, we have talked a little bit in past videos about Creature from the Black Lagoon. That was always something that's really been high up on the docket. A lot of people have been talking about it for years and years now, back since like 2019, that this was either a planned attraction that was cut, or it was always thought of as potentially a Phase 2 attraction for Dark Universe. Very likely to be some sort of boat ride attraction, Creature from the Black Lagoon. It makes a lot of sense for it to be a boat ride, and there really isn't any water or boat rides in the entirety of Epic Universe, other than Fire Drill, which is a completely different type of ride. It's like almost a water shooter game where you're getting wet. Fun little ride, but it's not really like a standard boat-like attraction. Universal and Epic Universe just in general need more boat ride attractions. One of the things that Walt Disney World has done amazingly, if you look at Disney, most of their attractions are indoor, and they have a lot of boat rides. They have a lot of dark rides specifically that are Omni Mover, People Mover type attractions that push a lot of people through. They have a lot of capacity. They get you out of the heat and into an air-conditioned building. If it rains, if it pours, if it lightnings and thunders, which it does a lot in Florida, you can still run these attractions. If it's pouring down rain and you go to Magic Kingdom, you don't even notice that it's raining. I mean, the entire park is basically still open with the exception of a couple of rides. Epic Universe and some of the other Universal parks don't tend to have that same level of uptime when it comes to lightning and thunderstorm events. A lot of things have to shut down because they have so many outdoor attractions. So having new, large, high capacity indoor attractions is a must for these parks, especially at Epic Universe. However, we talked previously about how we keep hearing internally from sources that Creature from the Black Lagoon has been canceled, which for me, if true, would be a massive fail. However, I'm now hearing this could also still be Creature from the Black Lagoon. This new permit with this large building size looks like it fits exactly where Creature from the Black Lagoon was originally supposed to be earmarked for, that now Creature from the Black Lagoon might actually be back on the table. So I really don't know at this point what is the deal for Creature from the Black Lagoon. Is it gonna happen or is it not gonna happen? I don't know. I need more information, but as soon as we find out, we'll let you know. So if it is Creature from the Black Lagoon, I can't wait because I know it's going to be an awesome attraction. It's going to be something very similar to one of two things in my view. It's going to be either a Pirates of the Caribbean in Shanghai type boat attraction that pushes tons of people through it, sort of a standard boat ride attraction like Pirates of the Caribbean in Magic Kingdom or Disneyland, except it has the added ability of being able to go forward and backward, go sideways, slantways, because it's basically on an underwater track that allows the boat to pivot and move and do lots of different things. It's not just an actual floating boat. It is attached to a track under it that gives it more flexibility and it has these front and back attachments to the boat that allow it to pivot and move. So my expectation is to be something very similar to that with increased animatronics and lots of digital screens, just like the Pirates of the Caribbean in Shanghai. And I think that could be really good for Creature from the Black Lagoon. The other big one I'm talking about is the rocking boat-like ride technology that's come from Mack. However, I know a lot of people have been saying that like there's some sort of feud going on between Mack rides and Universal. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't really heard a lot about that, but people keep saying that, so I don't know if that's the case, and maybe that's why this might not happen. But either way, some sort of like roller coaster type boat ride attraction similar to the Rocking Boat, or maybe even similar to something like Journey to Atlantis over at SeaWorld, which basically transitions from a boat ride roller coaster out onto actual roller coaster tracks where there is no water and then back into water again. Something like that will probably end up being what Creature from the Black Lagoon is, one of those two big things. But one of the other big possibilities we've been talking about is, could it be another show? They could probably use another show in Epic Universe, my opinion, not before they need more attractions, more rides that have high capacity, but they probably could use another show at some point. And we know that there was originally a show that was planned for Dark Universe that was then scrapped. I've talked about that before. You can see it in the original concept art. There was a large show building that got scrapped and then replaced by Curse of the Werewolf. But now with this new information about a 71,500 square foot attraction building, I'm feeling like less and less, this is less likely that it is going to be a show. I think a show might now be out of the equation. If you look at other similar show buildings like the Untrainable Dragon, for example, I think that's around 30,000 square foot, maybe a bit bigger. 30,000 square feet, this is 71,000 square feet. I don't think you would need a 71,000 square foot building for a show of pretty much any kind. In addition, with this particular size fitting very perfectly right in the back of Dark Universe, where we've been kind of earmarking it, is kind of an odd-shaped location, an odd-shaped structure. It's not like a perfect rectangle or square that you would see with some different attractions or even other shows. If that ends up being where it's going to be at, I don't think a 71,000 square foot building would work really well for a show, being that kind of odd, like longer rectangle shape. So I'm feeling like this is much more likely now to be an attraction of some kind, not necessarily a show. Now there is one other possibility for what this attraction could be, which we've been hearing a lot about another indoor roller coaster. There have been sightings of some roller coaster beams or some roller coaster supports and things that are laying around the property. However, we know that they're also working on a Harry Potter attraction. And so not knowing where some of this is going to be going or some of the signs that there are going to be another roller coaster built. So this could signal that the Dark Universe attraction they're building does end up being some sort of indoor roller coaster, like a Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind or like a Gringotts. I will say that the Gringotts attraction over in Universal Studios has about the same footprint size-wise as this new 71,000 square foot building. And so you could do another indoor roller coaster like Gringotts, Escape from Gringotts, in this space, and it fit pretty well. I personally hope that doesn't happen because I don't really like Gringotts that much. I think it's too much like stopping and show and digital screens and not enough roller coaster. I feel like if Gringotts was a little bit longer and it had about 75% more roller coaster in it and less show, I think it would be an outstanding attraction. As it is, It's a little weak for me overall when I compare it to other roller coasters and attractions. Probably the weakest for me when it comes to the Harry Potter attractions. So I would not love to see another Gringotts over in Dark Universe. I'd like to see something more impressive like a Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. But I don't really know if there's enough space there for something of that magnitude. So we'll see what we end up getting. But what we're hearing is it could be some sort of Bride of Frankenstein roller coaster. Bride of Frankenstein doesn't have any like major presence in Dark Universe. There is a meet and greet with her and Frankenstein's monster, but she's not really featured prominently anywhere in the park, so this could be her moment to have an attraction of its own. In the last video we talked about it could also potentially be for Super Nintendo World, some sort of expansion there, since it will be in a similar location, and that is that plot of land between the two. I'm feeling like now with this, it's seeming less likely for me that it's going to be Super Nintendo World expansion. So overall, I think where we're at is this is a Dark Universe attraction. It's definitely an indoor attraction of some kind. Creature from the Black Lagoon possibly still on the table, so anyone who's holding out Creature from the Black Lagoon, this is good news for you. Keep holding out hope. I will say I have heard very recently, within the last couple of days, somebody did tell me that Creature from the Black Lagoon is what this attraction is going to be. I don't know where that individual got their information. I have no idea if it's true. So I'm going to hold on to that little nugget for now as very hopeful that we get the creature, because I'd love to see a Creature from the Black Lagoon attraction. So that tiny little bit of hope that I'm hearing, I'm just going to hold on to that. So all you Creature fans, you're going to be holding on to it with me. But that's all I've got. That's the update. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this attraction, and are you as excited as I am for a possible Creature from the Black Lagoon, or are you hoping for something different? Love to hear from you down in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this. Until I see you next time, the Noble Way is the easy way. Bye bye, everybody.